my name is Neil Osment. I'm a director of a company called Wildlife World, and for the next sort of 15-20 minutes we're just to talk about our company and specifically about our experiences on exporting, and hopefully you'll take away a few things from today that will encourage you, if you aren't already exporting, to export. So without further ado, just a little bit about our company. So yes, we're a British company. We're based, formed 20 odd years ago, based in Tetbury in Gloucestershire, but we've got two sites. We have a manufacturing site in Gloucestershire, we have a test site in Gloucestershire, and we also have a test site in Devon where we test our products. Describing ourselves as designers of conservation, education and habitat creation products. Basically, we have bird houses, bee houses, and I'll walk you through some of the products that we've got. So it's wildlife products, and we're on a stand in Hall 5 today. Very much used to partnering with organisations in order to be able to grow to a large size. And we're a business that's over £2 million turnover and growing. So the partnering that we undertake is with manufacturers in countries, whether it be in Europe or in Asia, in order to be able to make maybe some of the larger running lines that we make, and then the rest of our products we make inside our own manufacturing facilities. So we supply many end users in Europe, and what I'm going to talk about is our activities in America as well, which we started to trade in. In fact, we've already had 5% of our sales are now being generated in America. And today, we're recognised as a professional manufacturer and supplier both in the UK, Europe and further afield. So rather than describing my products, a few photographs to indicate what they are. So this product here is a bee house, and bees, solitary bees, naturally come and settle into these houses, and these houses will be usable all over the world. So they're appropriate and usable all over the world. This is a nest box. As you can see, there's a camera used to be able to look at birds. And again, used all around the world, and it's certainly all around the world in the countries that we're exporting to. This is a sort of a multiple product that is good for bees, ladybirds, lacewings and other products, mainly in the educational market. We sell extremely well into schools, again both good in the UK and abroad. And this is a hedgehog house, quite a nice design, has gone extremely well in Europe and the UK. Interesting one for me is there are no hedgehogs in America, so shame, can't sell that for people who want hedgehogs. However, there are possums and other things, so it could be a possum house if you wanted. So interesting about that, some of our products are just inappropriate because the animals don't exist, or the insects don't exist. Sorry, let's go back there. And in terms of our range, our start point, we know that when we go into a country, bird care is the first important part for our customers. That's an area where we get our best opportunity, and then followed by wildlife care, let's say, so bees. And I'll talk with you a bit about that, about our introduction into America, how we investigated what was our best introduction point. Then follow into educational, so yes, schools and children, very important market for us. Cameras, conservation, bespoke, and we have in excess of 250 SKUs. In fact, we continue to invent new products. Another thing I'll talk to you about, very important for us to be inventing new products for appropriate markets. So yes, so in terms of our approach, so the approach that we have developed over a number of years and have successfully implemented, and which we took when we decided we'd go into America just over a year ago, was gain a foothold in the market with the major direct end users. And so particularly both retailer and mail order companies, both are very open to us working with them. The second point, I guess, is probably the most important point, that actually people see the cost benefits and understand the cost benefits of, if I'm trading directly with them, there will be no other costs going elsewhere. There's no distributor, no fees to distributors. So that was very attractive, and so end users like dealing with us. So that's the first one, is a cost driver. The second benefit is we're able to talk with our end user and explain the benefit of our product range very clearly and coherently, rather than people having it, say, translated through a distributor or an agent. So we found that's been very important. Wildlife, people need to understand the very subtle nuances of wildlife. And we would get probably about 3 or 4 lines established with those organisations. And when we do that, it's then about getting the best logistics system that suits for that market. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. We found that in America, fulfillment and stockholders in the USA was really important. So you needed to have an American-based facility that could supply products. Not the case in Europe. So for us, supply from the UK into Europe through a logistics system was fine, and people were not hung up by, I need to have somebody in France, Germany, or wherever. So subtle differences for us, and it's very important that there is a different logistics system appropriate to those 2 markets. And then what we did was to press on acquiring new customers and using the logistics systems to feed that. So while we've got a fulfillment facility in the USA, they're stocking for customer X. Obviously, we've then got products that we could use for customer Y, and that sort of self-fulfilling prophecy as a result of stockholding in America. That worked well. And here are some of the names of the organizations that we're dealing with from an export point of view. And NABU is the equivalent of the RSPB in Germany, and LPO is the equivalent in France. And so actually our first ever customer was RSPB. On the strength of that, so we were able to trade with these other organizations. It got us into those countries. So end user customers in the countries allowed us to be able to drive increased trade. And then companies like Trufa, Animalis, Fnac and Manufactum are a German company. Those companies came as a result. We've started trading in the last 5 or 6 years with 2 companies, Amazon and QVC, and that has allowed us to have a link into America. So that was very helpful for us, specifically to do with our opportunity in America. And Amazon were great. QVC, now just starting with QVC in America. So these companies who we traded with, first in the UK, then in Europe, and now in America, have helped us be able to springboard most recently. And I wanted to talk, I said that there was certain aspects, some technical aspects about our business and our products. You may or may not know that there is a shortage of bees. Are people familiar with that? Okay. So a world shortage of bees. And the world shortage of bees caused by, and most recently, if you listen to the news, believed to be due to exporting of bees. That's the latest, only in the last couple of weeks, and the belief that that may be yet another reason for why there's a problem with the shortage of bees. But essentially, the shortage of bees is because of in different countries there are bugs and mites that are undermining bees. So that's the downside. Do people understand the benefit of bees? Okay, so pollinating, very important. We'd have very, very dull. Well, we wouldn't have milk in our coffees and teas. We'd have very dull breakfast if we didn't have bees. So it's a huge problem. So I'm able to talk to people in America about this, and like you, they're all nodding sagely and understand this. And for us to be able to say, well, we've got products which can actually help you to be able to boost the population of bees in your country. Would you like some? So that was, and the answer was yes. That's helped us enormously to be able to establish a position in America. So, but Americans like to keep bees, whereas in the UK we're a bit more. Well, if we can just have a product available and we could leave it alone, that would be great. So there's 2 types of bees. There's one type of bee called solitary bee, and there's another type of bee called a swarming bee. So in the UK and in Europe, solitary bee, as it says, one solitary bee comes along, it goes into that little house that you might have seen, it establishes its home, babies, and it establishes an environment. And in that local environment, the population of solitary bees, a group of solitary bees, will be beneficial to the plants in that local area. So that's solitary bees, and you don't have to do anything with them, and they don't sting. Then there's swarming bees. Americans love their swarming bees. They love putting on their hats and, let's get some, and they love having their honey. So there's two types of swarming bees, one that produce honeys, one that don't. But swarming bees, they love their bees, love their swarming bees. So that was our understanding was, well, we needed to know this. So our appropriate promoted products were anything to do with swarming bees. So so that was our start in America. In France and Germany, as I said, solitary bee houses selling very well. The USA, slightly different approach. So I've given you a very quick, swift technical update on bees. Very important for us to be able to continue to furnish our customers both in America and Europe on the latest things that are happening with not just bees but beneficial insects like ladybirds, and had the American market considered having ladybird houses and things like this. So we're able to continue to give product updates through the great media of Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. And a really important thing for us, we wouldn't have gone into America without, and I'm going to obviously plug UKTI because this was a fantastic part of the service that UKTI were able to give us. So research, we had an American student, came to the UK, took our brief, went back to America, did a huge amount of research to understand our entry point, to understand the scale of the market, to understand that there were no hedgehogs in America, and more subtle things like that about where we might and what was the best opportunity for us. And that's helped us hugely. So we hit the floor running. As I said, small company, limited resources. We needed to have a good introduction. UKTI's research report was great, really helpful. So, so I talked about the do's and for us, and what about the don'ts then? Please don't expect it to be abundant orders next week. In fact, don't expect it to be abundant orders in your first year. It's definitely an investment. If we knew what we know now, we had a guy came to us and he said, I've been in America for 3 years. It's now started to pay for itself, and that I would say is probably where we will be. It'll take at least 3 years, so don't go to a show and you've had your show and you hope that's it. You have to keep going back and keep furnishing it. So we will continue to go to shows, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But you've got to keep it going. Don't expect to make money in the first year. I mean, in terms of the cost of the stands, we had some help. UKTI were fantastic and GardenX were fantastic on that. So you certainly get some good support from the government. And this organisation, UKTI, despite other government-funded organisations being closed down, this one is not. Its funding base is a different one. I've just been talking with one of the people here, and this is a sustained organisation that will be going on for some while, and so take advantage of them. And as a result of that, it certainly made our first year a viable one, where at least we washed our face in terms of the costs of getting out there. And as I said, we've generated about 5% of our turnover in the first year. Our experiences don't rely on distributors. There's a lot of people going, give me exclusivity of your product and I'll sell everything to QVC or Amazon or somebody. They don't. So our experience is that distributors they'll promise a lot, but they have the same issues as you do. So our experience is sell direct to end users. Distributors at some point will be useful, and maybe when you get a critical mass, and then they have their part. They have a place to play their part. And as I said, there's not one size fits all in terms of the logistics systems. And so I've described two logistics solutions. There would be other for other markets, South America, for instance. Okay. So why did we decide to go into America? What was the benefit of that? Well, we'd spent a lot of time selling to garden centres in the early years. And then we started selling into the gift market, which brought us into Autumn Fair and Spring Fair in the UK. So spreading our market a bit, but still the UK. As we said, in 2008, 2009, the rug was pulled from underneath the the feet of people in the whole of the world, but for us in the whole of Europe. So actually it's very important for us to grow into other market sectors. So we developed our offering in the educational market, and we've developed another market in the UK and Europe, but also we thought exports. So American exports, thought there was a great opportunity there, and we were right. As I say, very important, trade directly, great resources. Those two organisations for us, UKTI and GardenX. And GardenX is specific to the garden centre, oriented garden centre market. And we already had a good reputation, and we now have a global reputation for very well designed products. And by selling direct, you continue to keep that legacy and keep your standards high. Yeah, so in summary, for us, exports help level out that sales line, and our business since 2008, 2009, our turnover has remained the same. When we've had some of our competitors have gone out of business, and some of our competitors have seen 20-30% drops in their turnover. So that helped us sustain the sales line. Vitally important, target those end users with a small portfolio of SKUs, efficient logistics system, and support the development with NPD. So those are the two really important things for us, is getting into new markets and getting in the appropriate way. But make sure you invent the new products. And we probably invent 20 or 30 new products a year minimum, out of a SKU group of 250 plus. And use the resources on offer. These are great, and it's a privilege to be able to have the opportunity to talk and to espouse the strength of UKTI. So that's our little story.